Welcome to episode 1 of Poor Decisions. My name is Ronan Collins, or Whiskey for Breakfast.
My name is Michael Cowman, or The Cowman Show on Instagram.
Oh, I love that new name.
It is class.
It is.
And I know you think you came up with it, but you didn't.
I did.
It took longer than you think to come up with that.
Well, what we're doing together on camera is answering the world's question. Ye two need to have a TV show, so we thought we would.
Yeah, and we said this is as close as we're going to get because RT have said you're not hosting the Late Late, and that's all right. That's fair enough. I'm okay with that, so here we go. And I mean, what is the show all about? We're going to talk about different drinks-related topics because, Ronan, what have you done in your life?
Yeah.
Not much. Is that a bit of an existential question?
Yeah, that sounds like a Christmas dinner question, the family. What have you done with your life?
Not much, ma'am. Not much.
Yeah. But I suppose bartended in London, New York, surf coach, but that's probably not as relevant to this.
You'd never know where the direction this is going to go.
No, used to be an actor, obviously.
You're still painful.
Yeah, and then we obviously met each other when we were both working at Pernod as whiskey ambassadors, and now I'm out on my own as a drinks consultant / just personality.
It's kind of a fancy way of saying unemployed, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And then from my side of it, things, worked in whiskey for a number of years, used to be in the Navy, got into whiskey, worked in whiskey sales kind of all around the world, and now just a general, as a small man with a big ego once said, I drink and I know things, and that's the way I like to think of myself as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good kind of roundup.
But that's what the show is essentially. We're going to talk about different drinks-related topics, some very Irish, some a bit more worldwide perspective, bars, pubs, everything in between, and Irish culture related to drinking and all that kind of jazz, really.
Yeah, and just have a bit of crack along the way as well.
And we're going to do it in what we think are some of the best pubs in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first one we're in is down in Dublin. So I came down south of the border, and we're in Fallons.
Fallon's Bar. So one of my favourite pubs in the country, and it's great to be able to start here because there's so much history in the area, in the pub, so much related to whiskey, so much related to drinks generally. There's a very popular local stout which is brewed just up the road, and you can kind of see it all over the bar as you look around in shot. But it's a pub with a massive amount of character. And some of the little touches and stuff I think are great. And I know you've been in here a few times as well.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah. This is the emptiest it's ever been. So Fallon's first a bar in 1916 1619.
1619, yeah.
Okay. 1619.
You just have 1690 on the brain. That's it.
1619 is when they got their liquor license.
Yeah, and I think that I was chatting to Darren this morning. He was saying they can kind of date it back to 1619 to do with the brickwork and yada yada yada. But it's been a local institution here for a long, long time.
Yeah, well, because that back wall is their original back wall, and they were saying that it's because you can see it. I'm sure we'll get a shot of it, but it's like long bricks and then it goes narrow bricks, and they're just like layered.
You tell me about the brickwork.
I'm telling you about the brickwork.
Class,
yeah.
That was really
It's good. Episode 1, I'm nervous.
Yeah, that was great. I think close by then you have the old John's Lane Distillery, which was the Powers original distillery before moved down to Middleton in 72, 73. And this was the workers' bar. This was where the workers came to drink. And so there's touches of that all over the place. The bar, which we'll get a shot of later, very kind of utilitarian, looks very old school, but was built by the workers. And I was chatting to Michael Carr, who anybody who works in whiskey kind of probably knows Michael, a bit of a whiskey historian. And first time I was ever in here was with Michael. And he was kind of pointing out the little bits and pieces. But the workers would have come down here, and the Liberties has always been very much a working class area. And they were like, this is our pub, so we're going to make it as nice as we possibly can. So they were the ones who did up the bar. The front windows are all original kind of Powers windows and stuff. And there's always been a massive connection between the pub here and Powers, which is genuinely, it's a 5-minute walk down the road.
Yeah.
So you can totally get the connection there as well.
And even in modern days now, there's distilleries all around it. Obviously, Guinness is there. We've got Pierce Lyons, Teeling, Rowan Co.
Yeah. Dublin Liberties.
Yeah. So it's a really cool spot to kind of kick it all off because it's the epicenter of quite a lot of Irish drinks.
Yeah, and again, we were chatting this morning, and Dan Donnelly, who was an Irish boxer.
Yeah, bare knuckle boxer.
And I didn't realise I actually did know who this was, but he owned the pub here as well at one stage. I think he owned 4 pubs, and 3 of them went bankrupt as most boxers tend to do at some point in their career, really. But Dan Donnelly, yeah, I remember there's a place in the Curragh called Donnelly's Hollow, and we used to have to run through it, and I just always remember being shouted at by Donnelly's Hollow. I was like, who is this Donnelly fella, and why does he hate us so much?
And like, that must have actually been grim. But like, Dan, if you actually Google Dan Donnelly bare knuckle fighter, you will see what he looks like, and he's got like his arms go down like past his shins.
So he had a good reach in boxing terms.
Yeah. But
his arm is traveling around the world or something.
Well, that was it. Yeah. So apparently, grave robbers dug him up, and like his body got exhumed. That's definitely not him. Oh, there he is.
There he is. Yeah, with the big long arms.
Yeah, that was him.
That's ridiculous.
Look at those.
That can't be what he actually looked like, though.
Isn't it mad how like photographs have changed?
But that wasn't a photo. That's a picture, mate.
I know.
Someone drew that,
and that was a joke. All right. But yeah, Dan Donnelly, and yeah, so essentially, grave robbers, like exhumed his body. Is that the right word? Exhumed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exhumed his body, and
you could just say dug up if you don't understand the word you used.
No, but I did.
Okay,
I just wasn't 100%. And dug up his body, and now his right arm, they dipped it in red lead based paint.
Right.
And yeah, look at that.
That is good. That is a very long arm.
Isn't that mad? That's like something, like, honestly, with respect to him, but like that is some Harry Potter looking stuff.
Yeah, it does look a bit like, do you ever see the monkey's paw thing?
Yeah.
It's like you get a wish and it fulfills it in the worst way possible. I feel like that.
Like a Horcrux. Look at that.
The boy who lived.
Not to die.
But yeah, I think if anybody, I don't know if Dan's going to put that up on screen while you're looking at it, but if you haven't Googled this, go have a little look. But there's just some fella with Dan Donnelly's arm. Could you imagine in 100 years'
right
time?
one as well.
His right arm. But could you imagine in 200 years' time if they're just like, oh, what have you got? Oh, it's Ronan Collins' left ear.
I can't imagine that they'll want to keep something of me. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
What would they keep of you?
I'd be the arms as well, mate.
Some poor lad would have to carry those big things
there'd
around.
be 2 or 3 people carrying them around, I'd say. Yeah.
But yeah, he used to own this pub. I think that's class.
It is very cool.
And those pictures are absolutely nuts as well. But like this pub, even now, maybe you don't know about the Dan Donnelly stuff unless you ask Darren or someone else behind the bar. But when you just look around, you're like, there is so much stuff. My favorite thing, we were talking about it this morning. It's like right above the door when you come in on your left-hand side, there's a wedding photo on the roof.
And I've been in this pub dozens of times, and I have never noticed that before.
Yeah, it's mad. So apparently there's 2 stories. One's boring. It's about like, oh, a couple got married here. The other is that a crew put it on there because one of the locals like absolutely just gets jarred out of his head. And anytime he passes out and falls on the floor, looks up and he realizes it's time to go home to the wife. And that's the story. But no one actually really has ever told the true
because
story.
like if you look at the photo, right, it's not that old of a, it's not like a 1800s kind of photo. It does look kind of 19 dickety something anyway.
Yeah.
So it's funny that nobody can actually identify them either.
Yeah, it was probably like one of those like original Instagram filters. You remember you could do that? It's probably just that.
No, my favorite is, again, as you come in the door, at Meerkat Corner.
Yeah.
So there's 2 little statues of meerkats above the counter here. And
they're not selling you insurance.
Compared to market, though. Yeah, anyway. But the reason it's called Meerkat Corner is because you have to get up on your tippy toes to have a little look out over the window. Yeah. So like a little meerkat getting up. I just think it's brilliant.
I think it is. And then on the other side, you've got a beautiful snug with a direct line to the bar. And so like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Although we do love a wee snug, don't we?
We do love a snug.
We do, yeah.
Where's your favourite snug?
I feel like I'm cheating on Fallons by saying another bar, but it's Dick Max.
Yeah, Dick Max. The snug in Dick Max is, it's kind of iconic. Yeah. Maybe we'll get to visit it together at some point.
Right or left. We've actually had great times in both.
I'd say the far one.
Yeah, I would say the close one.
Would you?
Yeah.
I think you're wrong.
How about that's actually probably a brilliant day out. You sit in one, I sit in the other.
Yeah. Definitely more fun than I usually have with you anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, so like Fallons and the setup here is unbelievable. Some even say this is the best Guinness in Ireland.
Some would say that. I mean, not everybody agrees but I mean, what makes a good pint? Depends who you ask. Is it the shtick, lad?
It's the domage.
The domage.
How well it's travelled, how far it's travelled, how much it settles.
Well, you can throw a rock at James's Gate, so...
Yeah, well, actually, there's like one of the local stories is there is actually a pipe from James's gate directly to Fallons, and that's why their Guinness is so good.
I think it's because the keg is under the counter.
Keg is right underneath, so there's no pipe at all.
But if any Americans are watching, all the pubs in Dublin have a direct pipe to James's gate.
Yeah, and make sure to ask the staff, is it true?
Because they love telling you about it.
Do you want a pint?
Yeah, go on.
A wee one?
A small one.
Small one.
A small pint.
Okay.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh yeah, how's going? Yeah.
I'll just entertain myself here.
Yeah, good man. You love talking to yourself.
What about the minor team? How are they getting on? I think the funny thing about...
Is that right? No, I haven't poured a pint of Guinness in ages.
I think the funny thing about pouring pints of Guinness, right, and you always talk to bartenders, and they're like, you have to be able to have a 20-second conversation in normal pubs, right, while you're pulling a pint. With Guinness, it's a 2-minute conversation because it genuinely takes that long. So the bar skills of your average bartender in Ireland, I would rate, the conversational skills have to be slightly better than in a lot of places because the amount of Guinness being sold and it's being poured properly, obviously. So leaving time to settle, whatever. It's not like when you're buying it in, say, the UK or the US where they just throw it out to you in one pour. No. It has to be done correctly. And that means the bartender ends up having a 2-minute conversation. And I can see Darren looking at me here and he's like, I've had so many of those conversations talking absolute gowl to like people from everywhere.
So where are you from? Are you in town long? So what are you up to today?
Yeah. You're busy. And you going up to Guinness? Are you going Teeling?
Yeah.
Or what are you up around the Liberties for?
Oh, it's great crack up there. Oh, it is brilliant.
Lovely. They've done a great job.
You wouldn't be going to Temple Bar. Well busy over there.
Yeah. Oh, fierce expensive pints. Now, if you like the live music now, it's good.
Authentic. No, here, yeah, you're right, yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, we'd be crap at pouring Guinness.
Do you not work in like a world standard bar for a while?
Yeah, we didn't have taps.
Don't worry, nobody will be judging. Oh, the state of that thing. That is absolutely chronic looking. Oh my God. Why is it crying? That is shocking. Oh mate, you've just ruined the whole thing. Nobody's ever going to take it seriously now.
Guinness in here's crap. Oh, I'm actually going red.
What if he like?
No, sorry. Apologies.
Arthur Guinness, wherever he is rolling in his grave. Although Arthur Guinness, they didn't have they weren't doing a 2-part pour when he was around. Look at the state of that. It's settling out a bit better than it was, but...
Yeah, well, I'm going to do it this way to the camera.
Thanks, give me the leaky one.
Yeah, of course. I didn't fix it, Dan.
Yeah, there's no fixing that, Dan. There's no fixing that. But listen, while they kind of settle out, I mean, what is that? Yeah.
Well, I think this will be quite nice, though, actually. I'm looking forward to the rest of this podcast, us just drinking and just chatting. Maybe you can do the next round.
Yeah, I think I will. I will. I've made such an issue out of it now that the pressure's on.
Yeah.
But I can't do much worse than that.
No, you can. But yeah, that like Guinness, obviously, that we love that they're chatting about like what makes a good pint of Guinness. Like there are
we are obsessed as a nation of what's a good pint of Guinness, and even you see now with all the new brands and different stouts and whatever, Island's Edge and even the likes of Beamish and Murphy's and the other lads.
Lads, yeah. There's loads of stouts now.
Himself's stout, that.
Yeah.
But we are obsessed with Guinness as a nation, and it's quite a humorous thing that I mean, Guinness is owned by a large British multinational, like
Yeah, and it's not just brewed in Ireland; it's brewed all around the world. So it just shows like how iconic it is as a symbol that it's
I remember when I was working in South Africa, and you come back and be like, you'd be sitting at the counter in the local and be like, just love the Guinness in Africa. Yeah. Largest Guinness brewery in the world's in Nigeria, I think. It is, yeah. And it's just, you're having that same chat because that is the touch point that everybody has for Africa is Guinness.
Guinness, yeah, it's mad, yeah. But like that, it kind of like links in with the whole drinking culture that we love talking about. But the one thing we were talking about was like, we love Guinness, we rate Guinness like this, but we don't rate ever like Guinness out of a can, and we definitely don't. Well, not definitely, but we tend not to do pre-drinks on Guinness.
It's pretty good all the time.
I nailed it. Do you split the E or split the harp?
Split the G.
Or split, sweet, well, you did none of them. I also drink with my left hand. From drinking games.
Oh, from pre-drink, like.
From pre-drinking, yeah. It's called Buffalo.
Yeah.
And that was just from the year and a half in South Africa.
See, my finger is broken, so it looks funny when I do it. A little. It doesn't straighten.
I didn't know.
I dislocated it playing football one day and put it back in myself. Yeah. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Oh, you did an alright job." And I was like, "If that's an alright job, what does a bad job look like?" But I mean,
I split the E.
You split the E.
Yeah.
What do you do? That's north of the
You know,
border.
some people say you split the G, or it's the gap between the harp and the letters.
I always say split the G.
I think splitting the G or splitting the E, at least then you've got like a perfect white line. Yeah. But yeah, pre-drinking, like I wouldn't drink Guinness.
No, why would you? But we got a bit obsessed with drinking it during COVID, and we're like, well, how do we? You know, we were buying jewelry cleaners and stuff to try and sort it out. But yeah, pre-drinking. Do you play? I mean, what do you like drinking games? Do you play? Is it called Kings now? Is it?
Yeah, it used to be Queens. Yeah. Yeah, but like that's all like uni. Yeah, we used to do all that, which were always great crack. But the process of pre-drinking was just to get absolutely tanked.
The excess that was involved. I remember, like, I went to DCU, so I was in Dublin, and normal night out was 6 cans and a naggin. Big night was 8 cans and a shoulder. That is a stupid amount of alcohol.
So much booze.
And it's just because you don't want to actually have to pay for anything when you get out. You want to be, you know, and this is the student mentality. But it's definitely the student. You went to uni in the UK, yeah?
In London, yeah.
Uni. But I think that
it was a university. Sorry, when you did that, it was a university.
I know, but we don't call it uni.
Oh, what do you call it?
We call it college. But that's a different thing in the UK. We're like,
yeah, college is like what you go to
before you go to uni.
Yeah, but not up north. That's only in England. Up north, we would say like grammar or secondary school.
Weird up there.
You say college. College. Ian, Zach Morris. Go to college, do you?
Yeah.
Zach Efron. Why are they all called Zach?
Because it's just an American name, like Jeff
or Zach. Let's just stick with Zach.
We'll just stick with Zach. Like Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. Great show. Nice. But yeah, the pre-drinking element of things. Like, what is there different? Is it different up north?
Well, yeah, I suppose there's always going to be quite a few bottles of Buckfast when you do it.
Especially if you Lurgan. Lurgan champagne, for anyone that doesn't know.
Lurgan in the Holy Lands. Yeah. A lot of Buckfast. Voganaggins.
That's pretty standard.
Yeah. Fanta. A couple of mixers.
I do always see, you know, when you go to off-license up north, you're obviously getting more stuff in from the UK, you know, because that's direct line. There's definitely brands that we don't get down here. And I feel like there's a lot of, like, cheaper shots and stuff that I see.
Well, there's definitely a cheaper alcohol tax.
Yeah.
So that there's, right, like, when you're on a border town, you see a lot of Southern Rages just picking up their stuff.
Have you, and I know it's reasonably close to you, Jonesborough.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Jonesborough? There's a town on the border, right? There's no other reason to go there. It's on the border, and there's 2 of the best off licenses in the country. One is a Nisa, which is essentially it's like the northern equivalent of like Centra, and you go in, right, and it's a petrol station. You go in and you look over, and there is walls of booze and unbelievable everything from, you know, shots like buckets of Fireball to like 500 or 600 quid bottles of
like
whiskey,
single casks.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. And then you go 300 meters down the road, and the first and last off license is down there as well, which is another famous one. But they have all the prices up, and they're like, we take euros, we take pounds, we take whatever you have.
Bitcoin.
You know? Yeah, we'll take Bitcoin. But it's unbelievable that there's these two off licenses.
Which is funny, like now, like as like being in the drinks industry, like knowing those two in Jonesborough, because as a kid growing up, you went to Jonesborough for Red Diesel, fireworks.
Yeah.
And Jonesborough Market, remember the PlayStation 1?
Yeah.
You could get it chipped.
So it was region locked, and then you get a region unlocked or whatever.
So it had like so many more games, and you could so when you got it chipped, it meant that you could use dodgy games in it. So you didn't have to pay for the official game. You could go to Jonesborough Market, get it chipped, and then go to another stall and get the dodgy, like...
What county is it even in?
Louth?
Is it?
Dan, what county is Jonesborough? I think it's Louth.
Jonesborough, where all your dreams come true, as long as they're related to alcohol or fireworks.
Yeah, Jonesborough and Red Diesel. County Armagh, that probably makes more sense.
Yeah, well, it couldn't be Louth because it's in the north.
Yeah, but it's on the border. Is it split between them?
No, it says County Armagh. But I think the border runs like directly between it.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? Cuts the...
I tell you, if it wasn't for the border, what would you do? You'd only have one parliament instead of having two. You wouldn't play with pounds or punts and roadblocks, they'd be few. She couldn't live at all without the border.
You don't even have a parliament. So I don't know what you're talking about.
That was...
Unless this is screened so far into the future.
Yeah. Well, that was it when I ran the Belfast Marathon. Humble brag. When I did the Belfast Marathon, there was like... It was actually hilarious. People had like a sign. It was like, you run better than our parliament.
But that's one of the things Northern Ireland has the record for. It's the longest...
non-sitting.
Non-sitting parliament.
Mad. Actually, another funny sign, just speaking about the North, was someone had a sign that was like, this is the worst march ever. It was funny. But...
like with pre-drinking, do you have a lot more flags? Is there
no flags allowed in pre-drinking.
So you said this to me before about there's a natural Irish thing of when you meet somebody and pre-drinks, you don't know whose house you're going to, you don't know who's going to be there.
Yeah.
And you're always trying to place people. There's an Irish thing of you're only 2 degrees, there's 6 degrees of separation. And 2 degrees in Ireland.
And on that one, actually, though, when we were pre-drinking, it would be like, you had the address, whereas now you have Google Maps.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's a wee bit different now. But, yeah.
But as in, when you're talking to people, you're trying to place where they're from.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, you're from Kildare. What part of Kildare are you from? But like...
Yeah, we were saying, because I was like, if you're drinking with someone and you're like, oh, where are you from? And they're like, Dublin. Like, oh, cool. Like, what part? And you're like, Drumcondra, or the north side or the south side. Whereas up north, if you're anywhere, and someone's like, where are you from? And you're like, Belfast. And like, what part? You're like, why are you asking me that? I'm not answering that. Who the fuck are you?
Are you the PSNI?
Yeah, why would you ask me what part of Belfast I'm from? That's weird,
And I didn't get, well, it obviously makes sense, but because then you're trying to place people into a very specific category, I guess,
Yeah, and I think now as it's rolling on, it doesn't really matter because there's pockets of...
Everything everywhere.
Yeah, but the one thing I think, like, not necessarily at pre-drinks, but like moving on, that I've found that's different from north to south, or even from everywhere else that I've lived, is even as adults, we still drink disco shots like we're students. Like, I had never, and I can honestly say this, I had never had a baby Guinness until about 2 years ago. Because I hadn't lived in Ireland for about 11 years.
Okay.
And then I came back and I was like, do you want a shot? Now, if you asked me at the bar, do you want a shot? I'd be like, oh yeah, like
Mezcal.
Like mezcal, or, maybe a tequila. Very rarely will we go down the whiskey route to shoot, because we'll probably be drinking that. But like when I'm at home and if somebody was like, do you want a shot? I'd be like, yeah, it's one of two things. It's baby Guinness or a chalk pop. And that's all it is.
It's a chalk pop.
It's an after eight. You call it an after eight.
You see, right, the only time I do baby Guinness is at a wedding, right? So you do the speech thing at a wedding. You try and guess how long speech will go on.
And like pass the glass.
And everybody gets a fiver or whatever. Yeah, and it ends up costing you money because the round of shots is more than what the table.
And the dad always cries, and you're like, bet against that.
But I don't think we do those shots down here. I think we do more shot of tequila or Jaeger bombs.
Well, I was at a wedding in Black Pudding, Clonakilty, and honestly,
good reference point.
The trays of chalk pops that just came to the table.
Really?
Oh, it was madness. But up north, we love it. Everyone you just stick there. Oh, and do you know what's actually coming up? Third biggest shot now in the north, Tequila Rose.
Yeah, that's I think it's all right.
Yeah, like it's all right.
But it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
It is everywhere.
But yeah, like.
But you could probably get shots in like you go into a pub in the north. They probably have a deal on shots for £2 or something, do they?
No, probably not anymore. I'm sure you'll find a place, but like even in the city centre, it's still expensive enough. Like probably like a £5 for baby Guinness.
Okay, that's not too bad. I mean, I feel like if you're handing over one note, it's not too bad.
Yeah, well, you just tap.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough too.
Yeah, but like I think you always told me, and I think we did remember this. It was like, what did you call it? A bull round?
Oh, bull round, yeah. So the nightclub at home, from Wexford, and there's a nightclub in Enniscorthy called
Fun Clody.
Fun Clody, yeah. But there was the closest nightclub. Well, the local nightclub shut down. Closest nightclub was in the road, but they used to do this thing called a bull round. So it was like a 500ml bottle of Aristoff vodka, and 4 Red Bulls, and I think it was 30 quid, which at the time was extortionate amount of money. But
madness.
I remember getting about 5 of them one night. No, it was between a few of us. But I genuinely thought I had wings. The reason they say Red Bull gives you wings, because my heart was about to come out of my chest. Yeah, there was so much caffeine. But if you gave anyone, you go, cool, there's 5 Red Bulls. There's 180 milligrams of caffeine per can. Down them. Like, no, are you mental?
Yeah.
But then it's like, cool, here's some vodka. Here's some Jaeger.
Sweet, best night ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
DJ Tiesto. And I think that
it's 2011. Ian Van Dahl is playing Castles in the Sky.
Few glow sticks just cracked them, But I think that there actually does highlight another drinking culture that we have in Ireland, whether we love it or hate it, but we're binge drinkers. It is kind of a wee bit insane,
and we hate anybody telling us that.
Yeah, we do.
We don't appreciate. We're the second. It's per capita. We consume the most beer, second most beer in the world after the Czech Republic or Czechia, I think as it's now Czechia. I think is now called. But we're such a beer country as well because we're. I think say we spirits more so. Yeah, we drink a lot more spirits
and champagne.
And champagne, obviously. But the country in general is so much more beer focused. I remember bringing over people from the States, and we were in a cocktail bar in Dublin, and everybody was drinking pints. One of the girls said to me, "This is a work thing." One of the girls said to me, "Why is everybody drinking pints?" And I was like, "Because we're in Ireland, and that's what people do."
Yeah, it is pints.
And I think more so, we're seeing this move into whiskey and spirits, and stuff even like mezcal, but very slowly.
Oh yeah, but didn't you say that we're still the world's biggest nagging?
Consumers per capita,
the 200 ml wee shoulder that some people put in their back pocket or whatever.
And I don't know if it's a price thing or what it is, but we absolutely love naggins. It's one of the we're one of the biggest markets in the world for naggins. So a lot of companies have to make that specific size for Ireland because we just absolutely love a naggin.
That's class.
Yeah,
and the amount of.
But when was the last time you drank a naggin?
I don't know. A while ago, but I do. But I can hear that when you unscrew it, I can hear that cap, and it was always Glen's vodka.
That's grim. You were stupid. I had one recently enough. It was at Gar Brooks last summer. I remember sitting. Of course it was. I'm from the country, and we sat out in the grass drinking. I think a naggin of whiskey, naggin of Powers. I think it was
class.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
sunny day. Go to see Gar Brooks. Was wearing a cowboy hat.
Unbelievable. And I think that is probably the most Irish thing ever. Gareth Brooks or Garth.
Gareth Brooks.
Gareth, yeah, sorry. Garth. Isn't even that popular. Or people don't love him as much in America as we love him.
Yeah, I think we've kind of adopted the Gareth Brooks thing. Garth. But he sells out, but he still sells out stadiums in the US and everyone's like, oh, he's bigger now. He is huge here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, there was some mental stats that came out. It was... So what did he do? He did 5 shows in Croke Park, 80,000 people each, 400,000 people. So you're talking something like 8% of the country went to see Garth Brooks in this week. And it was something like 1 in 2 people in Cavan and 1 in 3 people in Monaghan had been to see Garth Brooks. Because once you go kind of north of Dublin, country music is king.
Yeah. I remember my mum and sister used to do line dancing.
You're from what? Warren Point?
Yeah, Rostrevor, yeah. Burn.
Okay, yeah. But it's... the north is quite...
Yeah, love a wee bit of country, yeah.
What's your man's name from Liverpool? Nathan Carter.
Oh, yeah.
Bit of Wagon
Wheel. Love Wagon Wheel. Oh, my God, what a tune.
Is that what makes an Irish pub? It's a bit of country music?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. But, what... Because I think it's that there's almost the origin story of how did you fall in love with someone? Or how did you two meet? It was we pre-drank together at our mate's house, went to Garth Brooks, binge drank all night and woke up together. And 4 years later, we're still together. You know what I mean?
That's a fairly common Irish story.
Yeah, it is, but it's madness.
Or you can insert pre-drinks, coppers for Garth Brooks there probably is probably the way forward.
That's it, yeah.
But I brought my girlfriend to Garth Brooks, and she's dub, not a Garth Brooks fan. The girl beside her was from Monaghan, and she grabbed my girlfriend for the entire night and sang every song with her. And she assumed, because my girlfriend was there, she was this massive Garth Brooks fan.
Yeah.
Not at all.
No, just not interested.
I had all the songs on repeat for about a month beforehand because I was like, you need to learn this. Because people want these tickets, so you need to appreciate
and
this.
And that wouldn't have given her the ick? You loving Garth Brooks that much?
She was too deep in at that point. She was pock-committed.
Really?
Yeah.
What about, and I'm bringing this up purposefully, But like, what about if she turned around and said that she was into crystals or astrology?
Yeah, I mean that's and there's actual TV evidence for this one, I suppose.
There is. It's almost like Dan has this pre-set up. Yeah, because you did First Dates Ireland. You obviously did First Dates Ireland, and the clip that's online, which I actually can't find up north. I like Googled it for ages, and somebody sent me the link and I clicked on it and it says not available in your country. I actually thought you had gotten into my system and like erased this from it some way.
I don't think it's that bad. But yeah, Robin, who's the girl, we're still mates. I see her now and again. Yeah, the thing was she was big into like horoscopes and crystals and stuff, and I suppose my red line on these things, and I have a bit of a red flag, is the horoscope side of things.
Is that it? Like,
yeah, I just think that you're like, oh, I'm a Libra, so I'm just going to be a bit of a dickhead. Like, it just gives you a.
I'm a Libra.
And well, to be honest, maybe there is some truth in them.
No, but I'm a Libra. But like a Libra is all about like balance, and you actually know that my life is not balanced. It's absolutely chaos. I'm very much like 100% on something or the opposite to it. I can't do like even like this year.
So you're doing an Ironman and you're like, I'm not drinking for 6 months, and then
like this year, 2 duathlons, a marathon, 3 half Ironman, a sprint triathlon, and an Ironman. And I'm not really drinking. Whereas like last year, we were in Dingle every week.
We were in Dingle every week.
On the actual show, which we don't have a clip of, he says that he likes accents, and she's like, "Oh, I love Chardonnay," and right, so she does an accent, and the camera just picks him up, rolling his eyes, and Twitter just blew up. It was like the only person. The reason Michael Cowman's single is because he can't date himself.
I hope Michael finds someone who loves him as much as he loves himself. But I'm very okay with that, because I mean you should love yourself. You should be very. Charity starts at home.
Didn't somebody say something about your teeth though?
Oh, they were like, Michael has lovely teeth. I wonder if they're real.
They are though. They are.
Yeah,
you have
they
amazing
are my own teeth. It was grand. It was a grand.
It was
experience.
funny though. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a bit of crack. She was lovely. She was dead on, like
Yeah.
But the whole like horoscopes thing and whatever. I just think we all have this narrative in our head. And like you just use it for justification. I just feel like in horoscopes, people just use it for justification to go, well, I murdered someone, but I'm a Taurus. I'm a Taurus. That's just what we do.
Taurus was in retrograde.
Yeah. So like Mercury was off spinning on its axis or whatever.
Mercury's flat out. It's in the ocean. It's in the tuna. It's up there. Like it's flat out. It's in our thermometers. Like, what is this?
We've seen this resurgence of horoscopes as well, which I think is just mental. There's so many TikToks and Instagrams and influencers and stuff, and it just...
If anyone ever watches this podcast, which hopefully they do, but you're going to get hate for this.
Oh, I hope it do.
And the crystals
Come find me,
They will. They'll know where you are, because they'll
so
turn to page 6 of the Daily Mirror and read their horoscope, and it'll be your address.
Yeah, Mystic Meg will be putting it in there,
When we do go out, we go to pubs. Now, that's where we've changed. And the Irish pub is just class. But we don't actually call it an Irish pub, we just call it a pub.
Yeah, because they're in Ireland, they're all pubs.
They're all pubs. And we do bloody unbelievable Irish pubs. And we have spoken about that. We always talk about this quite a lot of length. We do amazing pubs, not great bars.
Yeah, terrible bars. I mean, in general, I would say the bars tend to lag behind. Like the Irish pub culture is one of our best exports.
Yeah.
After
us.
I was chatting to a mate of mine, Foxy, and he works for Guinness, and he said he was in I think Kazakhstan working for Guinness, doing a few bits over there, and all their pubs are Irish pubs because they were a nomadic people, so they don't have a culture of pubs. They don't have a culture of like sitting down in a pub. So we've exported that Irish thing, and it's gone all over the world. But yeah, we do amazing pubs, and I think I said this to you before. When the world's top 50 list comes out. So you used to. So you worked in Dandelion, yeah?
Yeah.
So you won that?
Yeah, number one, yeah.
So number one bar in the world, very specifically.
Yeah.
And it comes out every year, and you have all these Irish people on Twitter in the comments.
I love when it goes on.
Why isn't Fallons on it? Why isn't Dick Max on it? Because they're not.
Yeah.
They're not.
I've been to the Savoy, they don't even do Guinness, but Fallons is the best pint in town. You're like,
Because they're
"That's
pubs, they're not bars.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Darren, you make me a martini. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So this is the thing, right? So what's the difference between a pub and a bar? Bar
doesn't do martinis.
A bar probably doesn't do cocktails.
Yeah.
You know, especially in Ireland. I mean, there's
Or
this.
a pub doesn't do cocktails.
Sorry, a pub doesn't do cocktails, and there's always this. I think it was Dave Wondrich told a story on one of the podcasts, and he was talking about if you go into any Irish bar in the States, you can probably get a martini.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
worked out when he was younger that the maximum amount of alcohol for money is a martini,
yeah.
and he said he went into an Irish bar one day, ordered a martini, and he says dry martini, and the man goes, yeah, cool, and he comes back out, gives it to him, and he drinks it, and he was like, oh, and he says, oh, it's very dry. He goes, oh yeah, no, when you ask for a dry martini, I just give you a glass of gin, a glass of cold gin,
which is unbelievable. That's how I drink mine, like especially straight from the freezer. In Cork, in a hotel in Cork, I was over on a press trip, and it was with a gin crew, and they're like, oh, what can I get you? And I was like, oh, can I have a Beefeater martini? And now, to be fair to the guy, he obviously hadn't heard this request that often. And what arrived was a glass of martini, Bianco, so the vermouth, and like a whiskey tumbler of Beefeater.
Make it yourself.
Yeah, deconstructed, yeah.
Yeah, that he was so far ahead of the game because it was a deconstructed martini.
Yeah, I would have been 20 quid for that in central Dublin.
But I've a buddy who went to New York. He's a guy from Cork, and he went to New York, and he went to an Irish bar looking for a job, as you do on a J1. And they said, yeah, no problem. How long have you been bartending? He goes, 7 or 8 years. Cool, come back tonight. He said he rocked into the bar, and he was like, let's go. And they're like, yeah, you're on cocktail station number 1. And he went, I'm on what?
Yeah, New York bars, like, are just another level.
Yeah.
And I suppose maybe taking New York and maybe all of America out of it, like, because they blend cocktails, because cocktails in their culture are way before us. Like, they've been the most discerning cocktail nation of all time. Even like in the hotel I worked at, when Americans came in, they would order drinks that we learn about when we're
classics and stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
But like such old school classics, and you're like, oh, that's cool because that's just in their culture. But like over here, the pub is like pints of stout, like Guinness.
half ones if you're a little small half one if you're adventurous.
And like
a gin and tonic is a cocktail.
Gin and tonic's a cocktail, yeah. And now hopefully on this podcast roadshow, we are going to be checking out some amazing other bars because there's a couple of new bars now that are really making a splash.
I think that's the thing. Irish people travel so much, and we're the second I think it's the second highest per capita whatever of people born in the country who live outside the country. So Lithuania is number 1, we're number 2. So everybody leaves, and we bring back all these things, and you see from a lot of the bars and a lot of the new bars that have been set up around the country that they're bringing that influence back. I mean, at some point, the likes of 1661, so Dave in 1661 spent years in London and has brought back a lot of that kind of service culture and whatever back. And I mean, you see it in London. There's so many of the guys are Irish as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mo Cara and Dundalk, those lads all lived in India and
Yeah.
came back, which is unbelievable.
And like India, obviously it's such a large country, but I remember one of my mates, and he's from Bangalore. He's an Indian guy from Bangalore. And we're just talking about the cocktail culture and stuff in Bangalore, and it's really quite advanced, and they have a lot of craft breweries and that kind of stuff, but you've such a amount of people that there's bound to be some good stuff there.
And then when you think of like their climate, the fresh fruit that they're going to have, like their cocktails, are going to be amazing. We could probably do a whole series on the Irish pub as well. And like, people talk about it all the time. But one thing, Irish pub, what needs to be a good Irish pub? Like good stout, whether that's Guinness, Beamish, Murphy's, there tend to be the 3, but then you've also got Island's Edge these days.
Forged.
O'Hara's, the Brewdog crew, sure, they were making a waves during Christmas when they took their photo outside St. James.
What's it called? Something black or black something? Or
ink? I don't know.
Yeah, something
like that. But essentially, a couple of good stouts, or one at least. Up north, we always have to have Harp.
Go out and fight your brother. I
don't know.
Wake up in the morning with standing over your brother with a shovel in a vest.
Yeah, it was like one of the, like, do you ever hear, I think it was like a comedian or somebody spoke about it. It was like, drinking a pint of Guinness is the same as eating, 4 slices of bread. And he's like, well, I've never, stripped naked and ran down the street after a loaf of bread.
And he's fairly spot on.
You don't need music to be an Irish bar.
Any music in here? Minuscule. In case the mic didn't pick it up. Minuscule. So I mean, you're talking good Guinness.
Yeah, because some people think you need trad music, but you don't.
No, and I think that's the global impression. That's why people go to Americans tourists go to Temple Bar because they want the trad music.
Yeah, we do love a wee bit of trad, but
more at like 2:00 in the morning when it spontaneously breaks out,
and we're singing it.
Yeah.
Shut up!
Right, anyway, Ronan Collins for a tune. Ronan Collins for a song.
It's nearly always on a bus.
Yeah, it's generally on a bus.
So music not necessarily. Stout and a lager.
Yeah.
Probably no cocktails.
I don't even think traditionally you would have needed.
Not a lot.
I mean, traditionally, what you went into a pub, they probably had Jameson, Paddy, Powers, Bushmills, maybe Tullamore Dew if they were pushing the boat out of it, and maybe they'd have one like Black Bush might be their high end skew, and that's about it.
Yeah, and now it's like so across the board, like it can almost be like too much choice. But we like to say that like a good whiskey selection, and maybe even now like a potchings, like a one potching, like a commercial potching, maybe will start to come into more and more Irish pubs.
Stop trying to make potching happen, Ron. But I think there's a lot of, so when you go to Scotland, I know, we became very good friends in Scotland and we're traveling around up there. I think the advantage of Scotland is everybody has a local distillery or a local, and they had almost adopted. I remember being on the Isle of Skye, we were in the pub across the road from Talisker, and they had Talisker 18 on Optic, because they're
I love it.
Yeah, just because they were selling so much, and obviously it's the local distillery, so you're going to push it, and people. This pub was in the middle of nowhere because the distillery's in the middle of nowhere. So if they're there to see Talisker. Yeah. So you might as well push it. But I think now we're starting to see that we're in the Liberties. I mean, the Liberties is one of the epicenters of this kind of whiskey revival. Like we mentioned, all the distilleries around. And this area has such a tradition of whiskey making as well. They used to call it the Golden Triangle. And it was very much the heart of what was going on because sat outside, it's called the Liberties because it sat outside the walls of Dublin and outside limits, and outside the tax liability.
Which I only learned about that at Christmas when we got told it by Steph, and it was just such like a cool. It's like one of the only Liberties still in existence that calls itself the Liberties as well. But there was like a big river of whiskey fire. What
was it? 1875? 1875. I'm seeing a nod over here. Yeah, thereabouts. 1875. Yeah. So one of the bonded warehouses basically burst into flames, and there was rivers of like flaming whiskey running down the streets here, and like it's a bit sketchy. So there's a guy called Donald Fallon who does a really good podcast called Three Castles Burning, and talks about all the history of Dublin, and. He's like, it's a little bit sketchy as to whether people actually died or not. So the like folk tale or the urban legend is that people died from drinking the scooping up the whiskey which had been running through horse manure and whatever. Because if you think about Dublin at the time, everything was horse-drawn carriages, all that kind of jazz. And
it's not anymore for those who maybe
those who haven't visited.
It's not.
We have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we do have cars, electric ones as well.
Yeah, electric. We're very forward thinking here. Yeah. But so it was running down through the streets. Running through all the manure, and apparently people died that way. But there's a bit of contested stuff because people will say that's one of the reasons you're not allowed to keep whiskey in Dublin anymore. You're not allowed to have a bond in the city limits anymore. And like, to be fair, the retail space is at a premium in Dublin, so you wouldn't want to have a bond here anyway. It'd be so expensive, so you might as well put it out in the middle of nowhere.
Because I think Jameson have 60 casks
down in Bow Street,
and it's cool. It's cool to see it, and it's great. But so having whiskey, maybe even a single cask in an Irish pub. Usually if you're in Dublin, you'll always get like a single cask from the pub. Probably the final sort of thing to make you a good Irish pub is snacks. Do you need snacks? Food, yeah. I mean, snacks, I think, because bar snacks and bar food are two different things. But I was surprised that when you go abroad, and I was in Liverpool one day, and I remember we ordered food, and like pub food in... Oh, it's good, yeah. Well, like, I think there's
it was shocking.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I'm not necessarily like just saying Liverpool, but I think in England, like pub grub is like usually quite gourmet.
Really?
Yeah. That's what it's always like.
Well, I mean, you have spent more time there than I have. Yeah. But respectfully, I'm going to disagree.
No, that's okay, But yeah, pub snacks. Darren, you do food here, don't you? Good toast. Oh, I love a toasty.
The cool thing about Dublin pubs, so very few Dublin pubs. Here they do toasties, they do them in Grogan's as well. So here they have like, you know, the batch bread that like your granny would have. And then Grogan's, they do kind of more like Brennan's.
All right. Sorry.
Sourdough. You all right?
I apologise to Grogan's for saying that you do sourdough.
But pub snacks, I think what we should do is every time we do one of these, we should look at what are the best pub snacks.
Yeah.
And would you believe I've prepared for this eventuality?
Have you?
I have indeed. Dan, pass me le bacon fries.
Oh, mate, classic. Now, we're starting strong here with bacon fries.
So I went out because I decided one bag wasn't enough.
Back.
It doesn't have the back, yeah. So there used to be a thing, and there used to be a thing called cheese moments. Yeah. And if you turned around the back of the bacon fries, there used to be a thing for cheese moments, but I'd never actually seen the cheese moment crisps. So I was looking the other day for cheese moments.
It's actually behind the package. No, it's not.
It's not.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Get him off.
There it is. Cheese moment. They don't exist, do they? I've never seen them. You've been told up the north like it's like a mystical land.
Yeah, well, this is it. But I've never seen it. So I went into the wholesaler and I was looking for these because I've been told so many times that they don't exist. And yeah, I was turning around the back. Thank you. You see, what would we do without you?
Yeah.
And yeah, so cheese moments, they don't exist. They are a mythical crisp. So if anybody has ever seen them, taste them, or can find them, please let us know.
Yeah, do send them in.
That was a bit frantic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, but we were actually genuinely excited to do that, but we thought that we just had lost it completely. So we just taste them and we just eat them because we know they taste good.
So there's 119 calories per pack, and are they're actually.
There's a mad amount of red stuff on it though for like the salt. Oh, totally.
Yeah. So
bacon fries.
My old housemate used to be a vegan, and she used to buy the chicken noodles from Aldi because they were vegan friendly. You know, because there was actually nothing in them. But yeah, it's just flavouring, really. They're great.
Yeah, definitely up there with. Well, right now these are the best pub snack ever.
You would never eat them outside of a pub.
No.
Have you ever gone into a shop and gone, oh, you know what I'd love? I'd love some bacon fries.
Pick up a couple of packets of bacon fries for the train. No, no, you don't do it.
And they're so salty that they're perfect for a pub snack because pubs want you to drink more. So
and they go perfectly with a pint of Guinness.
That Irish thing of even sitting in an Irish pub in the country and it's 11 o'clock at night and they come around with a bowl of cocktail sausages and chips and doused in salt because they want you to be. I need another 6 pints now.
Which we didn't need anyway because we were always going to order those.
We were always going to, yeah.
Number 6, only because we were talking about this. Nice way to maybe like round up this. You have this game that you play. Now, I actually genuinely don't know what you're going to ask, but
so it's this game. I've seen it online, and I just think it's good for putting you on the spot. So it's 6, 12, 18, 24. So you have to do. There's a list of 4 things. You have to do them. You can do them in any order. It has to be done in 24 hours, and you have to do 6 of one, 12 of one, 18 of one, and 24 of one. Right?
So you still do the 24? I thought it was just 24 was the hours. No?
No, 24 hours. And you have to do these 4 things within the 24 hours, right? So check the book. I have it written down in your book.
Oh, sorry. Do you want this?
Yeah, because I can't.
You can't remember.
I can't remember the four things, right?
So a lot of effort into this.
So pints. Text to your ex.
Okay.
Running in kilometers.
And
bacon double cheeseburgers.
Okay. And
so for example, just to read it in order, you do 6 pints, then you send 12 texts to your ex or exes. You'd run 18 kilometers and you'd eat 24 bacon double cheeseburgers.
But you have to do it in that order.
Well, you can do it in whatever order you want. So the thing is to figure out.
No, but you have to do it like you have to do them one after. So you start with the running.
So you're going to do 6K?
No, I'll do 6 texts.
6 texts, yeah.
6 texts.
Because you don't want to send the text after you've been drinking.
No, of course not. You want to do it like early and like keep them like top level, like how was your day or what's the crack?
Can I have my t-shirt back?
You up, hun?
Right, so 6 texts to your
Which is now
ex.
called zombieing, by the way. We spoke about this last night.
So when you, yeah.
So
Go
I'll
on.
do the 6 texts,
Right.
followed by the running.
So 6 texts, 12 kilometers. You're going to
12
run 12.
kilometers.
Okay, when you're
Easy.
fresh.
It's a warm up.
Right.
Then I'll do.
Cheeseburgers and pints. So you can either do 18 cheeseburgers or 18 pints, and then you have to do the other one.
I have to go cheeseburgers. I have to.
You're going to do 18.
I think I
bacon
have to
double
do 8. Well, I'm not doing 24.
All right.
So I think I have to do 18 cheeseburgers because it's in the day.
Yeah.
So I'll have woken up on hour 1, sent the texts, went for the run, done.
Right.
So I have like 22 and a half hours, bacon cheeseburgers, and then 24 pints. Like unbelievable night, but like 24 pints is chaotic. I've
What-
never even got close to that.
Pints of what though? What do you drink? You're not because you're not drinking a pint of stout.
Oh, can you mix it up?
No, but no.
Can I choose different types?
No,
of-
you have one. You have to pick one pint. What are you doing?
I do like an IPA.
Yeah, but you're gonna drink at 5%. Are you gonna drink 24 with them?
Probably like 6%. No, but the thing is, 24 pints of anything, even water, will eventually just.
It's a lot of liquid.
It's a lot of liquid, so I think you just hedge your bet to have the best time.
Right. So you reckon that's the best way to do that?
No, I reckon that's the way I would do it.
Right. What's the absolute worst way to do that?
Running the 24 after the food and the 24
and
pint
18 texts to ex-girlfriends.
Yeah, the text actually isn't that hard, like because you just do it.
You obviously have a good relationship with your.
I speak to some of them, yeah. Well, not like if I sent the. Why am I talking about that? Yeah, I think
And why do those relationships break down?
maybe I could put the text to 24.
I think it's because you have a fair commitment.
They loved crystals. Fair? Can you understand? Yeah. Here, I love it. Well, next episode I'll do one for you.
Okay.
And here, what do we think of bacon fries? They are tasty, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm gonna start. We're gonna start like a pyramid.
Yeah.
We're gonna a food pyramid.
Well, we're not. Dan, you are.
Dan, you're gonna do up a graphic for us for this, right? And each week.
On this pyramid, where do they stand?
Well, you have to be number 1.
we
They're gonna
only
start
tried-
number 1, and then we
You're
can.
not going to rate them between 1 and 10. You're going to put 1 at the top and then they're a king right now.
Yeah, because I think ratings are arbitrary, right? And you can go, oh, this is a 6. A 6 of what? It
Clubs.
doesn't mean anything. So I think just putting them in ranking, going, if you had to have one of these, which one would you have first, second, third, fourth, fifth, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so I think they're a good, strong start because they're such a quintessential pub snack as well.
Yeah, they are.
Because, like I said, you're not going to eat them anywhere else.
And it would be cool to do like Northern Tato versus Southern Tato or Free Tato. And like, I love scampi fries, maybe. Who knows what sort of snacks.
And if anybody can find us a cheese moment,
Oh yeah, cheese moments.
genuinely, really,
But here, episode 1 in the can.
done.
I think that was good, wasn't it?
We didn't say anything.
I don't think so.
Yeah, don't say it now.
No. Oh, I know. Yeah. Don't say it to me now. Now it's in my head. I can just see the word being burned across my eyelids. Where Dan was like, "Do not say this word, Ronan, ever." I said it a lot last night, so I felt like I got it out of my
You got it out of
system.
your system because the Americans don't like it.
No, not many people like it
All right, let's
because they're. Cheers, Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed it. And
I don't know, like, share, follow. Tell all your friends. Send a text to your ex-girlfriend. Tell her about
do.
it.
that there's actually the challenge, right? Send this link of this podcast to every one of your exes,
and
then
then screenshot it, send it to us.
Yeah.
and let us know what the response is.
and I'm sure we'll have some sort of prize.
And they're like, "Why are you sending me?
Yeah,
picture
which
of
would
these
be
two
funny."
extremely handsome men drinking pints." And
Too extreme. Yeah, we're just too good looking, like really.
really,
Well, I'll probably have another pint. Thanks for watching. The next one, we're going to another great pub. We won't tell you yet. We do know where we're going though.
yeah,
We're
we
not
have a
gonna
fair
tell.
old idea.
I think so. Cheers. Sláinte. Have a good one. And thanks again to Fallons and Darren for letting us in. You legend, yeah.
you very
Yeah,
much.
put that toasty on, mate. Oh, creamy.